And if you remember, the Death Star was kind of portrayed as a
Yeah.
small planet, maybe a
Yeah.
moon, but it looked like a
Mhm.
planet, right?
Yeah.
This weapon. And
Mhm.
so I was thinking about how, if you can imagine, the Death Star has 50 states.
Mhm.
And within those 50 states, there are multiple counties. And within each county, there are multiple cities. And in each city, there are multiple blocks. I
Mhm.
mean, that's a familiar setup for us, right?
Yeah.
And so the communities in the Death Star have schools and churches and, you know, they have hospitals and grocery stores and everything. The thing about that is, these communities, you might have a subgroup. Like I've talked on all of our live streams about how it feels to me like the United States of America has these subgroups, like a civics subgroup,
Mhm.
people who feel and care about civics and pay attention to it and talk about it and maybe even have podcasts where they talk about it or whatever. But
Huh.
that's not the dominant culture in America, civics. I mean, most people are kind of in this civic subculture. They call most other people normies, which is a fascinating term to me because it's like members of this civic subgroup describing everybody else, people who don't follow the things that they follow, as normal,
Mhm.
which is fascinating. So you have all these other subgroups, you have religious subgroups and so
Mhm.
on. And so let's go back to the Death Star, where you have like these communities. Of course, there's going to be a subgroup that's fully aware that they live on a weapon
Mhm.
and that everybody else in the universe has to contend with this weapon but them.
Mhm.
And I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, everybody else outside of this subgroup, they may have different reasons to do the self-reflection, to do self-discovery, to try to like figure out how to gain more meaning in their lives. But since they're the only people in the galaxy
Mhm.
that don't have to worry about being blown to pieces by this weapon because they live in it, or they sort of are doing all of that within a system that is threatening everybody else. And so even though you might have like a collapse, or they might confront some sort of cataclysm, on the other side of it, unless somebody destroys the Death Star the way Luke Skywalker did with
Mhm.
his lucky shot, right? Unless somebody destroys the Death Star, that system will be there on the other side of the cataclysm. And of course, the Death Star is a great metaphor for the industrial military complex of the United States of America, of course. And
Right.
so it's like, it's easy to see the industrial military complex being on the other side of the cataclysm. And yet the rest of us sort of struggling to kind of come to some sort of, self fulfillment to collect ourselves, to deal with whatever the cataclysm, brings about. But you have this
Alright.
system that's probably not going to go anywhere.
Well, and I'm more hopeful than you are that because when I look out at the system as it is now, like, you can already see even within that there are potential, there are little collapses happening, and I mean, even if you look at a generational thing, so you and I are in the same basic generation, and we were sort of brought up still in the sort of American dream thing, and we're kind of in that place where we're later career, we should have some of the American dream stuff, like a safe place to live and, some
Mhm.
savings and some of that kind of stuff.